Let that sink in. That's what Elon tweeted after marching into Twitter's headquarters carrying an actual sink. After months of back and forth, Elon finally bought Twitter for $44 billion. And as soon as he got control of Twitter, he began cleaning house.
If we're gonna turn this company around, we gotta start cutting the crust off this sandwich.
Elon was ruthless. The CEO, the chief financial officer, the company's top lawyer, they were all fired just like that, quickly getting escorted out of Twitter's San Francisco headquarters. Sure, they'll receive tens of millions of dollars in severance packages, but their reign is finally over. And now it's time for him to fire Twitter's entitled employees. See, Twitter is a horrible business that barely makes any money. A horrible business that Elon had to borrow $13 billion to be able to buy. That means Elon is gonna have to pay $1 billion every year in just interest for that loan. That means Elon is on the clock. If he doesn't turn around Twitter fast, he is gonna get buried. And guess what's the easiest way for him to cut costs? That's right, Twitter's employees. Twitter has over 7,500 employees that get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars each for an app that lets you write 280 characters of text. So yeah, the majority of these employees are completely useless and should be fired. After the deal closed, Elon tweeted out the bird has been freed. But if the bird doesn't quickly learn how to fly, it's gonna come crashing down. This is the hostile takeover of Twitter. If you're watching this channel, you're probably an ambitious person. And one of the best ways to make yourself look more impressive and high status is by learning a new language. Just think about how much someone's eyes will light up when you say a simple phrase in their native tongue. Maybe this person is someone you're trying to do business with, or maybe it's a girl you're trying to impress. I've done it a bunch of times and I can assure you it's really worth the effort.
Ani duma, atlishna.
And plus, learning a language is now easier than ever thanks to Babbel, one of the top language learning apps in the world. Simply download the app, choose the language you want to learn. I chose Russian for myself, and then boom! Within a few minutes of their interactive lessons, you'll find yourself knowing a bunch of practical words and phrases that you'll actually need to use. And what I love about Babbel is that it gives you feedback on your pronunciation on the spot thanks to their top-tier speech recognition tech. There are no ads or other annoying things that other apps have, and you learn all of this through quick 10-minute interactive lessons that you can squeeze into your schedule at any time, and they're really fun. Over 10 million people have purchased a Babbel subscription, and on top of that, Babbel has been empirically proven by academics from places like Yale University to help you start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. Yes, you heard that right, less than a month. That's why they're able to offer a 20-day money-back guarantee. So what language are you gonna learn? Choose from 14 different languages to learn from right now, with an extra 60% off your subscription by clicking the link below. So pause the video and click the link below for 60% off your Babbel subscription now. Thanks to Babbel for sponsoring this video. People assume that just because Twitter is a huge social network with hundreds of millions of users, they must be insanely profitable. But in reality, Twitter has not turned a profit for 8 out of the last 10 years. Instead, they actively lose a bunch of money every year. In 2020, Twitter lost over $1.1 billion. A year later, they lost $220 million. Compare Twitter to other tech giants like Facebook and Google, and you see a stark difference. Google and Facebook are insanely great businesses. They actually make money every year, how about that? And each year they make more money than the last. While Twitter, well, take a look for yourself. That's because when you're browsing Facebook or Instagram or Google or YouTube, you are constantly bombarded with ads, while Twitter, you hardly see any ads on there. So how do they make money? Well, as you can see, they don't. And yet somehow Twitter has over 7,500 employees for a text editor. And these employees are spoiled rotten. A quick Google search online and you'll discover that Twitter's employees get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most get paid a minimum of around $150,000 per year, with some getting paid well over $300,000 per year. Now that is not a bad thing. You should pay your employees a lot if they're making you a lot of money or if they're doing really complex work. But Twitter's employees aren't making Twitter a lot of money. In fact, any reasonable business person will be able to tell you that they're actively siphoning Twitter of all their profits. And again, all of this is so that users can type 280 characters of text. But don't take our word for it. Some Twitter employees have been gracious enough to give us a glimpse into the very difficult day in the life of working at Twitter. Iced matcha to kick off your stressful day? Cozy log cabin areas to relax? Foosball tables, meditation and yoga rooms? Red wine on tap to get the juices flowing? Now one would think that if you were in the shoes of an overpaid underworked Twitter employee, you might be thinking to yourself, man, I don't know how sustainable this is for them to keep paying us these insane salaries and benefits while they're losing money every year. I should be grateful that they haven't fired me yet. But sadly, this is not the case. When rumors started flying around that Elon was gonna make some massive layoffs, the Twitter workers wrote a collective letter to Elon, expressing some of their concerns and demands. And what did Twitter employees have to say about running the company into the ground while taking fat salaries? That firing them would hurt Twitter's ability to serve the public conversation, because they've been doing that so well lately. That firing us is reckless, that it will undermine our users' trust in the platform, because people definitely trust Twitter as a platform, that it's worker intimidation, that we're uplifting independent journalism in Ukraine and Iran, that we empower social movements that matter around the world, and we must preserve the integrity of our platform at all costs. So we demand protection. Fair severance pay when you actually do fire us. We demand to be treated with dignity, that we will not be treated like pawns in a game played by billionaires. You would think this letter came from sweatshop workers or coal miners. But no, these demands came from entitled tech workers making 6 figures sipping on wine while banning you for having a different opinion, while at the same time acting like they're both the victim and the hero. Now you may be wondering, but how are companies like this even able to stay in business while losing so much money every year? To understand that, you have to understand the game that so-called tech companies play. As long as you can maintain the image of a revolutionary tech company that is set to change the world, investors will throw money at you. Because investors want to find that needle in a haystack tech company that will 100x, 1000x their money. And the only companies that can do that are so-called tech companies that really do end up changing the world. When in reality, most of these tech companies are neither tech nor a company. They're nothing more than a super basic app with a pretty design that loses money. That's why tech companies are obsessed with talent. We gotta hire the absolute best talent and pay them the best, most competitive salaries. Tech companies have to have overpaid workers and a lot of them. Twitter has to have 7,500 employees for their basic text editor, or else they won't be able to maintain the facade. If they don't have a big team, investors will think to themselves, how is this company gonna change the world and provide me with outsized returns if they don't even have a giant team of the smartest, brightest minds on payroll? As Peter Thiel says, we wanted flying cars. Instead, we got 140 characters. And we cover all of this extensively in our Silicon Valley Ponzi scheme video if you want to learn more. And the executives at Twitter were profiting handsomely from this facade. At its peak, Twitter was at $77 a share, while the executives? The CEO made over $30 million in 2021. The chief financial officer? He made nearly $19 million. The chief legal officer made nearly $17 million. They had no incentive to cut costs and actually run a functioning company, so they didn't. These were the same people Elon fired as soon as he took control.
You're fired! Get the hell out of here! Go on!
And all of this was sustainable for the last decade or so because of the money printer. Money was flying off the shelves, money was super easy and cheap to borrow, returns were psychotic, until they weren't. Until the American money printer started going in reverse and raising interest rates. All of a sudden, now you actually had to have a functioning company to stay afloat. Annoying, right? But now that Elon Musk has taken over and has taken the company private, he actually has an incentive to turn a profit. $1 billion worth of interest payments a year of an incentive to turn a profit. So after firing the executives and the annoying employees who were bashing him, he filled the employee parking lot with Teslas. Teslas owned by his closest confidants, including David Sachs who worked with Elon during the PayPal days, and 50 of Elon's top engineers, product managers, and leaders from his other companies like Tesla, SpaceX, and The Boring Company, or collectively called Elon's goons by some employees. And their job is simple: figure out who to fire and how to make Twitter more money while making it a better platform. Twitter engineers have already been asked to print out a bunch of code that they've written so that they can be interrogated. Twitter managers are being evaluated for the jobs. So current employees are literally shaking right now. They're forming private group chats to comfort each other. Some of them are half joking about how they're constantly refreshing their inbox, just waiting for the termination email. And on top of layoffs, Elon has some major changes he's planning to make to the Twitter app itself, like making verified Twitter users pay $20 a month to stay verified. Or maybe even bringing back Vine, or some kind of TikTok-style video element to Twitter. But by far the easiest way for Elon to make more money is just by firing useless employees.
And you're fired.
The average Twitter worker is making about $150,000 a year, according to Glassdoor. So if all Elon did was fire 3,300 employees, which would be 44% of Twitter's workforce, he would save around $500 million every year, which is already half of his interest payments. Which again, an app that lets you write 280 characters of text can probably survive with just a mere 4,200 employees. Knowing Elon, he's probably got some crazy ideas in store for Twitter, but we'll just have to wait and see. And you can bet that if anything big happens, we'll cover it on this channel, so subscribe to find out what happens next. Twitter, TikTok, and Meta are by far the worst at censorship. YouTube is by far the most reasonable. They at least try. But YouTube is still far from perfect. They might not outright ban you for talking about things like the Middle East, Jeffrey Epstein, or vaccines, but they will sure demonetize your video and age restrict it, which stops the algorithm from promoting it. This prevents us from covering really important topics that we think should be covered, like China's forced organ harvesting, where Chinese hospitals are able to sell Westerners juicy, succulent organs on demand in a matter of weeks, instead of waiting years on a Western transplant waiting list. How are they able to offer such an expedited service, you may ask? Because they kill transplant donors on demand. And all these donors happen to be dissidents. Christians, Muslims, activists, politicians, religious scholars. Counter-revolutionary elements that promote disgusting things like democracy or religious freedom. And this business brings in big money. We're talking $62,000 for a kidney, $30,000 for an eye, $120,000 for a liver, $300,000 for a pair of lungs. However, we have to stop going over this right now before we get demonetized or age restricted. But if you want to watch the full private documentary on this, and many other topics too controversial for YouTube, scroll down and click that join button below. This YouTube membership came out of this need to cover important topics that wouldn't fly on YouTube. It's where we post a new private documentary every month never to be released publicly, like this one on forced organ harvesting, which is by far our most disturbing one yet, or other ones on the business of vaccines, the roots of Middle Eastern terror, the man that didn't kill himself, and much more that you'll get instant access to. The goal of this membership is to teach you how the world really works unlike college, while being astronomically cheaper than college, just $5 a month, with a 30-day refund policy unlike most YouTube memberships. Meaning that if you join for the first time and you don't think it's worth it, email us and we'll refund you your money. So scroll down and click that join button to watch now.